fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
This time of year, the school calendar really starts to fill up. Spring activities, testing season, and that final push toward the end of the year. It's a great moment for kids to stay focused and build confidence in what they're learning. That's where IXL comes in. IXL is an award-winning online learning platform that helps kids truly understand their schoolwork, from math and reading to writing and science. It's designed for pre-K through 12th grade, with personalized interactive content that adapts to each child's level and pace. IXL makes it easy to stay on track with instant feedback and clear explanations, skills organized by grade level, and simple progress tracking. It fits into even the busiest spring schedules. It's also trusted nationwide. In fact, IXL is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. Listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
What happens when you make a TV show that gets canceled, a podcast that takes off, in a comedy career that never quite follows the rules?
I once had an agent tell me if we could get all of your fan bases to just team up and be one fan base, you'd be a very large act.
Chris Gethard is a comedian, writer, podcaster, and DIY legend. He's built a career outside the mainstream, not always by choice. From public access to HBO, he's seen every version of success and still wonders what it all means.
The corporate dollar chase is on in podcasting now. It's no longer the playground for creatives.
If you've ever wondered if you're chasing your big break or bracing for your life to break you, listen up.
This is the difference between an artist being able to bet on themselves on a special or maybe purchase a home.
The creative economy is broken, but some people are still making it work. We're here to find out how. I'm Anna Marie Cox.
And I'm Open Mike Eagle. And this is Past Due.
No, I'm just psyched to be here. I'm a fan of the show, and I support the mission statement in a really big way, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, there we go. And Mike, get on it.
Okay, Chris, we have, and since you're a self-professed fan of the show, actually, you're going to be quite prepared for this, but the introductory question we like to ask all of our guests to start our conversation is, when is the last time you were worried about covering your monthly expenses? It's a big inhale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I have not had to worry about the monthly expenses yet.
Okay.
I am actively in the long-term conversation with myself of, I have a contract on a thing that runs until my son finishes 3rd grade. He's about to enter 1st grade. So I'm extraordinarily lucky that I've had this whole career where for the last almost 10 years now, my podcast, Beautiful Anonymous, has kind of been the little engine that runs in the background of it. Mm-hmm. And the contract for that has, about 2.5 more years on it. So until that, I don't need to worry about the monthly expenses, but I definitely have felt very often that that's a bit of a doomsday clock counting down in my life, because I don't know what happens after that. And my son will only be at the end of 3rd grade, which is not old enough to retire.
Yeah, he can't get a job yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, under the Trump administration,
maybe
child labor laws might change.
Yeah, send them into the coal mines. Send them all the stuff they used to have kids go climb into a wind turbine to clean out the gears that only little child fingers can fit into.
No, it'll be an AI data center job. He'll crawl into the.
But yeah, the monthly side of things is not alarm bells yet. But for example, I'm lucky in that I bought a house 5 years ago that my family lives in, but we just had a leak coming through one of the light fixtures in my son's room, and the repairs on it wound up being $4,000, which sends me into like actual heart palpitations to think about that going out the door unexpectedly. So I'm in a lucky place. I am in a lucky place, but yeah, it's not month to month quite yet.
So the podcast,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic podcast. Most people that we talk to, we talk to many people that podcast. Also, we're podcasters, obviously. But it's becoming less and less frequent that, a podcast is able to be like somebody's main revenue. Do you plan on continuing to do the podcast after that contract is over? Are you going to try to renegotiate something? Like what happens to that?
I will both, because I love the podcast. It's also a very low maintenance podcast. I take phone calls. I don't have to book guests. So it's like really lovely. People like it and say nice things about it. And on top of it, it in a way that's, not, I don't think it's an exaggeration. It allowed my life to have anything resembling breathing room, anything resembling freedom of choice about, I moved back to Jersey to raise my kid, and I've never dived in and gone to Los Angeles. If I didn't have the podcast, I wouldn't be able to pick that. It would be New York or LA, and I'd never be able to leave, even though New York was really, really kind of killing me in a lot of ways mentally. So the podcast, both because I love it, let's be clear about that. I stand by it creatively. We've had a lot of critical praise for it that kind of and not even in the comedy world. My background, Mike, you and I met through comedy when my comedy and your music crossed over during that really lovely 2010s comedians, all these DIY spaces,
alt comedy. Was that they still calling it alt comedy?
But then
like in
alt
the 90s,
comedy,
like that was the alt comedy.
See, I came from that. I started in 2000, and I was pretty early in the New York alt comedy thing. But then you watched it grow, where it started connecting with alternative music, and then also weird. The amount of pro wrestlers that started crossing over, and
beautiful
basketball
weirdos.
bloggers,
that's who that is.
And like a lot of basketball bloggers that were kind of crossing, like that whole free Darko era of blogging and all this stuff that had this kind of shared common sense of humor and sense of freedom. I was really a part of that. And Mike, you and I crossed paths, I think, when those things started smashing into each other. And it's very weird for me that I've put in 25 years as a comedian, and then the thing that has sustained me is this sort of NPR adjacent, not funny podcast with a fan base that they're very lovely people, but they don't bite on my comedy. And then my comedy audience has shrunk in the 9 years that I've been doing the podcast. And I once had an agent tell me, if we could get all of your fan bases to just team up and be one fan base, you'd be a very large act, but we can't figure out how to do it.
Wow.
So I have so many questions.
Yeah.
One is someone who is like, obviously I didn't meet y'all, but like very much 90s to 2000s, like alt comedy, alt music, like Gawker, all of that stuff. It was a beautiful weirdo time with, I think, a mix of cynicism and vulnerability that I don't feel like that quite exists anymore.
No.
Like vulnerability is very in. That's great.
Not in comedy. It's
Not in
starting
comedy.
to inch back. Comedy now is more about the past handful of years. I think obviously everybody's read the think pieces.
Yeah.
Heckling videos, aggression, the Rogan sphere, which I want to be clear. I don't fundamentally have a problem with people paying their rent through the arts, but I think it has definitely comedy very quickly changed, I think, from a thing where you go like, oh, you can see, you can drop in on a show in New York and sometimes see like Colin Quinn and Reggie Watts on the same bill, and it's rad. Like now it feels more polarized and more like the aggressive stuff leads the charge.
I don't
And
want to
that's
get drawn
fine.
into a sidebar about masculinity.
Yeah, it's
But
all over it.
I feel like part of me was clocking two things when I said vulnerability is there. One is performative vulnerability online, right? Which I think is all over in a way that is newish to me, to see that really come Instagram, TikTok, people like performing their trauma. And then the vulnerability, how that translates into comedy is the rise of professional, male comedians whose vulnerability is expressed as anger. Like
Yeah.
they're not overtly sensitive to the world, but what they're doing, largely white guys, right? Straight white guys, angry about their position in the world and letting that and betraying a fundamental insecurity. Like just kind of like Colin Quinn. But I think Colin Quinn was self-aware of that.
He's brilliant. Colin,
Yeah.
a lot of the people you're talking about sort of worship at the altar of Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn.
Yeah.
And don't necessarily understand that the people, like, I love Tough Crowd, and a lot of the comics involved in it I've known in New York for years. And there's a level of craft and a level of earning it that crew had to be so aggressive with each other that a lot of the other people go, that's what comedy should be. But they haven't necessarily put in 20 years to earn the right to be, let's be frank, like mean. So they're just being shitheads, but they're making a lot of money doing it. And not all of them, but enough of them. And, I don't have a problem with, like I said, with anybody, but some of this stuff is officially a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of Patrice O'Neill. And that's how you earn your rent. Don't act, I sometimes have had to draw some lines and stand up for myself because I actually came from an era where when I was I have cooled down a lot since my peak as an entertainer, but I was, I think, known for vulnerability, period. Between my old TV show and my HBO special and Beautiful Anonymous, like all of them have this common thread of here's this guy being vulnerable himself and opening the door for other people to get vulnerable. And I really took it on the chin in the rise of the aggro comic, as far as some of the things said about me publicly by people and some of my ticket sales suffering for it, which was rough. Also, things slow down. That's part of the ticket sales too. I'm not claiming that it's only the aggro comedy that hurt my ticket sales, but it didn't help. It didn't help to be a notoriously sensitive male trying to be in comedy clubs the past 5 years. It wasn't exactly as embraced as it had been a few years prior, for sure.
This isn't as much of a question as something I just would love to hear you talk about, hear your opinion on, because part of that backlash too, to me, feels sort of informed by like dudes at the top of the field, Seinfelds and Chappelle's, like suddenly getting it like very up their ass to like protect the right for comedians to be able to say what they want and go at whoever they want, which always felt like super disappointing to me because it feels like there's a bigger mission at hand that they seem to be missing. I just was curious what you thought about that.
I go back and forth because I definitely think there's I think I do stand by the idea in comedy that it almost follows, I think, like the ACLU philosophy of I don't support what you say, I do support your right to say it. I think there is truth to that. The problem is the hypocrisy. And the problem is the people who just want to say stuff and think free speech means lack of consequence. Like Richard Pryor said some crazy stuff. Lenny Bruce lost his cabaret card and was a raving maniac at points. George Carlin said some harsh stuff. They also, to my knowledge, didn't spend more time complaining about the reaction afterwards than they did saying the thing and just owning it. With some of the names you named, some of it is, I think there is, again, the people who just go, hey, free speech. It doesn't mean lack of accountability. If you say something, I support your right to say it. And if you lose a third of your online following, I don't think that's you being canceled. I think that you made a choice, took a swing. Some people decided it wasn't for them, And maybe the other people, it's really for them, and it was a good strategic move for you and your career, and you can own it. And that's great, but don't complain about it, Like, I do think there's some hypocrisy, with Chappelle. I believe it was within one special that he went on this real rant about my tribe is comedians. That's my people. That's who I am a part of. When we have to protect each other and take care of each other's right to speak. And then the big punchline was, except Hannah Gadsby, fuck Hannah Gadsby. So there's a part of me that goes, which one is it? Like, you're the apex predator on the food chain. So everybody follows your lead. So it sounds to me like we all protect each other unless those of us who are the alphas decide you're not part of the club, at which point, fuck you. You're the first one in our crosshairs, which to me is hypocrisy. So I'm actually just about as free speech as any comedian gets. But I'm not. I mean, just like I think any rational person, and especially comedians historically, hypocrisy was the number one thing to have an allergic reaction to fight against, to call out, to speak truth to. And I think some of the weird saber rattling in comedy has a lot of hypocrisy baked right into it in a way that I'm as baffled by as anyone. And then the number of people I've had people, I was at my brother-in-law's house. He was having a cookout, and someone else who was there was like, I hear you're a comedian. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this cancel culture shit, it's really making it hard for you guys to do what you do, right? And I just straight up was like, no, it's fake. That's fake. He's like, all I hear is that. I'm like, most of the comedians who are the loudest about cancel culture, if you actually, let's think about it, they're making a lot of money yelling about cancel culture, and I don't know that they ever paid their rent as an artist before the gift of cancel culture enabled them to make money off of it. Nobody's telling me what to say and not say. Some of the most canceled comedians are selling arenas. Shane Gillis is the most famously canceled comedian, and as far as I can tell, he sells out arenas, and he's hosted SNL twice since he wasn't allowed to be on the show. And to his credit, I don't think he sits around and milks it much. I don't think he sits around and complains about it publicly much, but people hold him up as this avatar of cancel culture in a way that I bet if you put the screws to him, he doesn't seem particularly thrilled about. It's weird.
You know who's actually the poster person for cancel culture is Stephen Colbert.
That's cancel culture.
That he got literally canceled. This other stuff, when they say cancel culture, they don't often mean your show got canceled, really, right? I mean, sometimes, but
sometimes cancel culture, from my view, means cha-ching. That's what it seems to me.
Whenever anyone says something to me about cancel culture, I'm always like, give me a receipt. Like, give me, like, what do you mean by that?
Colbert, let's be clear, 200 people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
And we can say that some of it is because talk shows seem to be a dying art form, and there's truth to that. But it doesn't make sense that the highest rated one during a corporate merger with mandates from a government muzzle went out. Like, you will never convince me and most artists I know that these things are not connected. And that's fascism. That's actual boot on your throat, shut up, don't say things we don't want you saying fascism. That's what that is. It's crazy. Comedy's I often wish I never got involved.
Wow.
You have no idea. I'm not in comedy, but when I think about like the skill set I have and like the other opportunities that were open to me besides writing, like
yeah, I have almost no regrets, and then a handful of true regrets.
I wanted to ask you to go back to Mike's first question about your podcast, which is such a place of refuge for a lot of people and a gift in a lot of ways. You said you wouldn't stop doing it, and I get it, because I think, we're not making money on this podcast either right now, or you're making money on yours, but we're not. But we're doing it because it's one of the reasons why we do anything. Like, this is a thing that allows me to do something that might pay more, right? Like, it is part of the art, right? So I'm curious, like, that sounds like what your podcast is for you. Like, you would do it even if you weren't, even if it wasn't like the main nut of your income.
Yeah, I do love it. And it's me talking to people and feeling a little more sane in the process, which is awesome. But I also, on this note, I really do, I'm not here to blow smoke. As soon as I saw you guys putting out this podcast, I was so thrilled because money or not, no one wants to hear people in the arts and media complain like they are cushy looking jobs from the outside. And historically, there are many cushy jobs, and those cushy jobs still exist. There is real truth to be spoken to. You all are raising a red flag that all the middle class jobs in entertainment that have existed, at least in the 25 years I've been doing this, they're going away at a rate that is alarming. And the large majority of people in entertainment are not making that cream of the crop money. A lot of the people presenting it on Instagram, it is a crafted image and they don't have as much as you think they do. And there's also a lot of people that were just really, really happy to have jobs that paid their rent and fed their family. And those jobs are disappearing. And it's scary. And they're disappearing even as artists get pushed out to the more fringe, Wild West feeling things. As soon as they figure out how to make money off of them, corporations come play. You look at podcasting in, it was this thing where artists could find a voice, find a platform, make some money, get known, skip the gatekeepers, fully democratic. It was awesome. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, you started to see a lot of the smaller companies getting sucked up into the bigger corporate companies, and a lot of them hiring A-list celebrity hosts. And I was part of a company called Earwolf, and they were very, very good to me. And I'm not talking bad about them, but there was real behind the scenes drama at Earwolf that the fan base, there's like Earwolf obsessives who sort of picked up on this, but never totally did. And I'll probably, I think, speak more publicly about it right now than it's been spoken about. There was an effort to unionize at one point because they started to realize once Conan O'Brien launched his podcast, which is a great podcast and that I've listened to most of the episodes, The Office Ladies, I've been on the show. But once they realized, there's huge numbers with celebrity driven stuff, all these hosts that had helped build the company and its reputation started seeing their ad sales plummet. And we were all kind of told, well, here's what you need to be doing on social media. Your show's a few years old. It's not as sexy as it used to be. And then one of the hosts started reaching out to the other hosts saying, is this happening to you? And we started realizing we're all being told the same exact thing.
Wow.
And then we all start to realize the people selling the ads, it's commission based. They get more for Conan and Office Ladies. That's all this comes down to, which is capitalism.
Yeah.
Which, there are many people who have problems with capitalism, but what we all start to realize is when we're getting the same email about how it's actually our fault and we haven't done enough, you go, oh, they're gaslighting us all and we're all making less money and they're just not being honest. And it was scary to realize, the corporate dollar chase is on in podcasting now. It's no longer the playground for creatives that it was. The middle class opportunity of podcasting seems to be smashed because it's all funneling right to the top with the A-listers. Okay, where do we go now? Now we go where? TikTok, YouTube, Instagram Reels. Okay, that's a whole conversation unto itself, right? Lord knows, as a comedian, now you also have to be a professional editor. You have to be a brand strategist. You have to do all this. Well, even that, all right, the videos don't seem to be paying, but they help you sell tickets. All right. But everybody gets a cut of your tickets. And also all the venues are being bought by Live Nation and Ticketmaster now. And they're putting hidden fees. And guess what? When a couple goes, we want to go out and see a show. Oh, cool. The tickets are only $25. And then when they go to click pay, it comes out to $80, $90 because of all the hidden fees. They don't go, screw Ticketmaster. They go, screw this artist.
This episode is brought to you by Factor.
Cold days, big goals, absolutely zero interest in cooking? Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs.
No planning, no grocery math, no what did I buy this ingredient for?
I love that Factor has quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats.
And there's so much variety. Over 100 rotating meals every week, including the new Muscle Pro meals, if you're doing strength stuff.
And they support your diet, whether it's high protein meals, Mediterranean, whole ingredients, healthy fats, or more. Plus, there are no refined sugars or artificial sweeteners.
I've looked for something like this for a long time, and Factor really is the best.
It's good food that tastes great and is ready in about 2 minutes, always fresh, never frozen, no prep, and no stress. Head to factormeals.com/passdue50off. That's 50 off. And use code PASSDUE50OFF to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year.
Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan. 1 free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active.
Early birds always rise to the occasion for summer vacation planning because early gets you closer to the action. So don't be late. Book your next vacation early on Vrbo and save over $120. Rise and shine. Average savings $141. Select homes only.
This artist lied. They're the ones whose name is on it. So then the fees affect your ticket sales. You're getting less from ticket sales. Well, you can still sell merch. Well, all the venues take a 10% cut of your merch. You don't get a cut of the bar, but they get a cut of the merch. So effectively, every artist is what now? A t-shirt salesperson? That's what we all are. I didn't sign up. And I have to edit and make a massive TikTok to attract the ticket sales. And I get no money from the TikTok. I get less money from the ticket sales. Also, I can sell merch. And the venue takes a 10% cut of this. And Live Nation benefits more than I do as an artist. What the fuck is going on the past 5 years? This is weird. Yeah. The only people who can afford to do this are independently wealthy people. God bless them. But I can't. I got a kid. I cannot take a chance, let alone in comedy. If you want the real. When I did my HBO special, they paid for the production and I got a fee on top of that. That was standard. I didn't make a ton of money. And then my next special, I self-produced it and someone paid me back the production fee, so I broke even. I'm about to put out another one where I was told, okay, like the way it works now is you make your own special and it could go on YouTube and that might help your ticket sales. But if Netflix or Hulu likes it, they could license it. So guess what? Now all these young artists are being told, if you want it to be licensed by Netflix, it's got to be shot with cameras that can be up to Netflix's standards. Lighting, sound, color correction. You pay for the closed captioning. And everything needs to be up to Netflix standards, Hulu standards. Because if you don't, they can't license it. It's not up to their standards. So you got young artists putting out, I'm not kidding when I say tens of thousands of dollars, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to self-produce a special. This is the difference between an artist being able to bet on themselves on a special or maybe purchase a home. Mm-hmm. And that's a real choice an artist has to make now in comedy. Do you want to have a special that is licensable, or do you want to have a down payment for a house? Pick your dream. You don't get both. I think it's real fucked up. And I think it's really different than it was even 10 years ago. Granted, some of this is my star has fallen compared to 2016, 17, 18. And I am aware of that. So before anybody wants to say you're complaining, but your name is not as hot as it was in 2016, I get it. There's still something really, really weird happening. And I think this podcast is one of the only places where I hear artists talking about it. It's weird.
So I have so many questions just off of that. I love that we're getting deep into this stuff, but that last bit about people being told, young comedians being told, this is how you do it now. You pay out of pocket to make your special. You put it on YouTube. Like, are these people's reps telling them this? Like, are these the people who are supposed to be or historically have gone to HBO or have gone to Netflix to try to get these things made, now refusing to do that and encouraging people to do it this very risky way instead?
It's hard to say. It is a viable track, and you see young people blow up. Andrew Schultz, I think, was the first guy to really use YouTube to show other comedians how to do it. And famously, like Mateo Lane, very different comedian than Andrew. Andrew sat Mateo down and was like, I think you've got a track where if you isolate your fan base online, they will blow you up. And it worked. And it has worked for other people since. So it is a viable thing. I'm not saying it's not. I am saying for every success story like that, there's dozens of people who sank a ton of money into a thing so that it could wind up on YouTube and get 15,000 views, 20,000 views. Now, 15,000 views is commendable and nothing to sneeze at. If you're a young artist, that might be a good start to something. But if you were convinced to spend $40,000 on it and you're doing the math and you go, I just spent over $2 a view out of my pocket and my car broke down and now I can't buy another car, to me, that's really weird and really fucked up. So yeah, I think it's valid for managers and agents to tell people to do it on some level. It has worked, but there needs to be some level of protection, some level of responsibility. I have real hopes that the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild start to really figure out ways to work with the YouTubes and TikToks and Instagrams of the world so that these artists have some safety net to catch them. Because most of the, I've always kind of been like the junior member of an older crowd and the oldest member of a younger crowd. I've always walked in between that line. And a lot of younger comics in New York in particular, and it's starting to happen a lot again, which is very sweet. Sometimes if you're a weird alt comic, at some point they reach out to me and go, I want to get lunch with you and pick your brain. Because I did it on public access and found a way. And they are appreciative of that. And that's cool. But I consistently find when I talk to them, their assumption is, I'm never going to own a house. I'm never going to have a kid. It's too risky. I can't do that and also chase being an artist. Some of this might be the bluster of being young. Some of it might be being in the moment and not seeing a future that is going to come. But when I tell you the consistency with which I hear from young artists that it is an assumed thing, that this idea that you someday get to be an artist and also have a family, also own a house instead of paying a landlord, it is consistent to the point where it's totally normal to them and completely heartbreaking to me.
Again, you're the ideal guest. I love you.
Oh, I'm happy. And I got a story. I got a story as well that I gotta tell you guys at some point that made me want to be on this show so bad.
So Mike, you're the one without ADHD. You remember that he has a story.
Noted.
I have two things I'm going to try to remember both to say. One is, God, I'm just in high emotional range these days because like hearing you say the thing about, now granted, my star has fallen, granted, people might say that I'm sour grapes or whatever. I think that's kind of the flavor of what you were saying.
Yeah, bitter.
Like I want to like hug you because like that is a thing that I've thought about myself, and I've had to have friends remind me like that's not how the world sees you necessarily, right? Like when I think about the young comics reaching out to you, they're not like, you know what, his star kind of fell, but I think I'll reach out before lunch. They're thinking like this guy made a career that I respect.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I recently had a young artist tell me, she was asking me about my old show, and John Mulaney's name came up, and she was like, well, you're just as big as John Mulaney. And I was like, the perspective of you as a young artist is very sweet and adorable. I'm telling you. And I'm friends with John. I like John a lot. Like, I worry more about my bills than John does. Like,
That's so fair.
We both know that. He's hanging out with Steve Martin and Martin Short. We all see it on
May
TV.
not forever. Number one, let's not wish him
for
ill,
sure.
But like people's careers. And no. I see. I'm going to back up because this is a thing that this show is about also, which is disambiguating success with financial stability.
For sure.
And I would say I say everyone we have on this show, including the hosts, are successful in artistic ways and have had success. I mean, Mike's album, I don't know if you've noticed, it's doing very well.
That's true. It is doing very well.
Critically, and 1 million downloads,
Yeah,
streams.
1 million streams.
Million streams. Like, I'm doing some really cool stuff myself in journalism. Like, I'm actually going to go out and do a profile of that Maine guy, that Graham Plattner. Did you see his video? He's like an oyster guy running for Senate in Maine, going to challenge Susan Collins. Super excited, going out to Maine to do that.
I just got a text from him asking me for money.
Yeah, I bet you did. So, like, and you have this incredibly popular, like, cool show that is beloved by an enormous fan base, right? Like,
I feel good.
We have stuff to be proud of and careers to be proud of. Now, we also, and this is the point of the show, and like you were saying, is like we're basically the middle class of the creative economy. Yeah. Right? Maybe even upper middle class. Like, even if the financial struggles are real, like right now, like this is our full-time job.
Yeah.
And I think that young person was not suffering from the myopia of youth. Like, you have something that she wants, right?
And I did it my way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Mike and I have crossed paths a handful of times, but like, I think in ways where I can say, like, it felt like a real link when we linked. Like, my TV show's fan base fucking loved Open Mike Eagle. You came on multiple times.
There's some folks who still mess with me who I met on your public access show.
And we've had some heart-to-heart talks spread out over the years. And I think you can vouch for Mike. Like, I was like, I'm going to do it my way, motherfuckers. And then I went and did it my way. And I can stand by that forever. And as far as like values and trying to have some sense of ethics and some sense of wanting to treat people a certain way, I think 99% of the time I managed to pull it off. And I think 99% of the people who have dealt with me will tell you, like, I was always a straight shooter, fair, tried to take care of people. Whenever I got an opportunity, tried to give other people in my sphere of influence jobs, bring up those people to help the younger artists. Like, always tried to do it the right way. Very, very proud of it. But these young artists, kids, Ethan and Gigi, they're great. Like, they're going to blow up. They're anti-fascist clowns in New York. It's brilliant. They do a Hamilton parody musical about 9/11 that talks about why are we fetishizing the father of American capitalism. It's brilliant. It's funny. It's smart. It's completely weird. And they sat me down and they were like, we really want to do it the DIY way. And you're like the DIY guy. You're like the DIY comedian out of New York that is still in the trenches doing stuff that we have access to. We got lunch. And one of the first things I said was like, you can do it. And I think DIY is actually even more. I think everyone in the future is about to have a their Substack, their Patreon, their podcast, their touring career, and their efforts at union jobs and all these things, right? And I'm way ahead of the curve on that. I've had to do that for years. But like, if you do it the DIY way, there's fun, there's joy. You'll stand by your work. You won't fall into the malaise that I've seen other artists fall into, where they do a thing for a paycheck and then never want to leave. And they're writing, I'm writing for this person. I don't even think that person's particularly inspiring. Like, you see people fall into that track. I much prefer my life to that track for sure. But I did have to explain to Ethan and Gigi, just understand that, like, my financial stability as a 45-year-old father leaves something to be desired. And you are signing up for that. If you really want to do it the DIY way, if you really admire the choices I made, I'm hugely flattered by that. I'm also a 45-year-old dad who's sweating a little bit harder than I want to be most of the time. Welcome.
So you remind me of my second thing. I said there's two. One is I want to give you a hug and remind you, like, don't talk your shit down.
Yeah.
And the other thing was about the future and unionizing and young people and whether or not we have to trade off our artistic integrity for stability, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that there is a path forward where we don't have to hustle all the time. And it is actually kind of incumbent upon us and about anyone who cares to make those large-scale political actions and small scale too, to make that happen. Like doing the anti-fascist Hamilton parody, right? And continuing to make work that I see this podcast also as a reminder that the creative class is the leading edge of the middle class. Actually, we are not the exceptions. We are actually much like we had Siri Dahl on, and she was talking about how sex workers are kind of the leading edge, canary in the coal mine for the creative class. I think the creative class, I think that's true. And then the creative class is also the canary in the coal mine for the middle class, because we're the ones who got gigified right away, right? Like we're the ones who had to do multi-hyphenate everything all the time. And now this is like, you looked at LinkedIn, everyone is acting like they're a creative professional, right?
Yeah, we teach everybody how to social media.
Yeah.
Yep. We taught them how to podcast. We taught them how to TikTok. We do teach them. I feel like the creative class in general, and weirdly enough, comedians very often seem to go, we'll be the first ones to kind of figure out the science. We'll turn the dials on this new thing. It keeps happening. I think since podcasting forward, I mean, Twitter, how much of it in its early days was defined by, following Rob Delaney. The people who could crush a one-liner on Twitter were the first ones to get these massive followings. It's really strange, but what you're saying is totally true.
And and then it has to be collective action. It's like the more we recognize that the precarity is the point, the precarity is the political point, right? Like we are supposed to feel precarious because precarity inspires isolation and loneliness and self-blame.
Mm-hmm.
And we lose sight of the fact that it is the system that is creating the problem and not like my lack of hustle, your lack of hustle. Like it is
100%.
It is it. And when we can identify together, and also I would say, like, I know that there's a bunch of people who listen to this podcast who aren't necessarily in like the strictly creative space, right? That we have more in common than we don't. Like, I'll say again, creative class also as gig workers, I want us to do an episode on the ACA changes that are coming up because ACA is about to get a lot more expensive and the enrollment date is shrinking. And almost everyone I know who's freelance in any way depends on ACA. So, and we're feeling that ahead of everybody else.
It's scary. I lost my union insurance during the pandemic. And this actually, it ties right into what you just said and also leads into that story that I think you guys will love this one. So I had a stretch, there was no acting work. They turned off a light switch in our entire, you can't go on a film set. You crazy, can't do it. But to get insurance through the Screen Actors Guild, you have to act a certain amount, earn a certain amount of money. And when you get past the threshold of earnings, you get insurance, which is a fair enough system. I lost it. I'm not the most active guy. I've always done it my way. Everybody else moves to LA. I moved to Jersey. These are choices I made. They put me off the grid, made it harder, But I lost my insurance. My son was not even 2 years old. I lost my family's insurance. My wife, my son, their insurance flows through me. Felt like a failure as a dad. Felt really bad. Things wound up working out. I had a miracle where my lawyer realized that there was a bunch of money owed to me under a Writers Guild contract that had never been paid. So the Writers Guild insurance kicked in. So we only didn't have insurance for a couple months.
Oh, wow. But
still, to not have insurance for your kid for a couple months when your kid's not even 2 years old, I felt like a bad father. It's not an artist complaining. As far as being a comedian, when real life things like that happen, I'm not sitting here going, oh man, comedy. I'm sitting here going, I feel like I'm letting down my son as a father. It's a much worse feeling and a much bigger thing than comedy. So during that same stretch is when I mentioned that Earwolf started to unionize, and there were so many back channel conversations, and I was part of these committees trying to unionize. And there was another host who had a bigger show, and he kept saying, we got to make bigger demands. If we're going to unionize, it needs to be for this and that. And I was able to step in and get through to him and say, I don't think we're going to get all that. And I said, I also don't think that this unionization is going to particularly help you because you're doing really, really well in other areas. I was like, there's podcast hosts from the Earwolf world. Most of Earwolf is these LA actors, improvisers, comedians, actors, right? I go, there's people who have maybe booked a commercial and they're $4,000 away from their health insurance. This would get them there.
Wow.
Like, this isn't the total contract that we want, but there's people who have had a bit part on a show, and with the residuals from the bit part they had last year, if their podcast can earn them $8,000, it might get them insurance. This is about reestablishing the middle-class pathway into insurance. This host did get it, and I think cooled down. We wound up not unionizing because so many of the hosts with the most bargaining power, honestly, I think just got a little sick of it and moved to independent spaces, Patreon, other networks where they were the big fish again in a smaller pond, which Earwolf was making it clear wasn't the case anymore. I'm really airing out the dirty laundry of that. All that being said, Earwolf they did take good care of me for years. Like, I'm not bitter. I'm not mad. These are just the facts. No one can debate the facts. So, a few months after all that goes down, I get a call from the Screen Actors Guild representative that was our liaison on that unionization effort, out of the blue, probably a year later. And I pick up, and I was psyched to hear from her. She was like, "Hey man, how's it been going?" I'm like, "Good, this and that, blah, blah, blah." And she goes, "I want you to know that your name has been coming up at a bunch of internal union meetings lately." And I was like, "Why?" Because I'm not putting myself down, but like, I am a rank and file member of the Screen Actors Guild, the WGA. Haven't had that many WGA jobs. The ones I've had have been like big, but they've been spread out. Screen Actors Guild, I've been a member for 23 years, earned my insurance most of those years through acting, but just like barely. I'm a guy. She was like, because in those unionization meetings, I had said, like, I lost my insurance because I came up a few grand short. This would have got my family insurance. And she goes, I clocked that. And she was like, I was watching that Zoom and I was like, he must have misspoke. And then she went and like checked my records through the back channel as much as she was legally able to through SAG. And she was like, when we realized, like, you hosted your own show on True TV for 3 years. You've had parts on The Office, Broad City, Parks and Recreation. Down the list, you've been in The Heat and The Other Guys and Anchorman 2. And she's like, if you go to your IMDb and look at it, we all sit here and go, if you can be this active a member of our union and you still need to worry about health insurance,
wow,
what the hell is going on? So she was like, we might want to talk to you more about that. I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, anything I can do to like lay out where I've been at, if it helps other people and if it helps kind of guide the priorities, absolutely. But I did remember feeling both this sense of pride that she knew that I'm someone who will like be like, yeah, I'll sit down and talk. Let's go. Let's help all the other artists. Can I help? Can I help other people avoid this stress? Can I help make it easier? What do I have to do? But I remember also feeling like so distinctly, like, you don't want to be discussed at a union meeting as like, they put your picture up on the wall and go, hey guys, this is like, this individual dude seems to be the guy that if you make more than him, you're good. And if you make less than him, you're fucked. Like, that's not, you don't want to land. You don't want to be that example of like, man, this guy's losing his insurance. And if he's losing his insurance, like, he's had a pretty decent career. So there's a lot of members who aren't as visible as him, who haven't been on shows like the ones I named, who must be struggling. I'm going, that's rough. That's a little rough to know that like my picture's on the wall at Screen Actors Guild as like, this is the hinge upon which success swings.
Chris Gethard, it's time for another past due Chris Gethard hug.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
This time of year, the school calendar really starts to fill up. Spring activities, testing season, and that final push toward the end of the year. It's a great moment for kids to stay focused and build confidence in what they're learning. That's where IXL comes in. IXL is an award-winning online learning platform that helps kids truly understand their schoolwork, from math and reading to writing and science. It's designed for pre-K through 12th grade, with personalized interactive content that adapts to each child's level and pace. IXL makes it easy to stay on track with instant feedback and clear explanations, skills organized by grade level, and simple progress tracking. It fits into even the busiest spring schedules. It's also trusted nationwide. In fact, IXL is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. Listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
We've got more with Chris Gethard on patreon.com/pastdue.
In this week's bonus episode, Chris shares the hardest, weirdest, and most soul-crushing gig he's ever taken.
And I was crying laughing. If you're ever going to become a patron for a single behind-the-scenes bit, I think this is the one. That's what I'm saying. So you can hear that and more and help support our show at patreon.com/pastdue.
You were very early on in talking about mental health, especially for creatives, like very early on, way before it was cool, way before it was normalized. And I think that you doing that, like in a very particular way, kind of helped make the world better a little bit. So like that's the hug, right?
Thank you.
And it leads into a question, especially with what you're laying out about Earwolf and the conversations that you're having with other comics about, you know, how to get their specials aired and all of that. And sort of the spirit of the show, right? We're trying to normalize conversations around finances, much in the same way as conversations around mental health have been normalized. And I'm just curious, in the circles you run in, how comfortable are people talking about finances? Like, how comfortable are comics and people that you know in Hollywood talking about having these sorts of money conversations?
It's a great question. I think people on the way up are always more willing to talk about it.
Interesting.
I think if I'm being totally honest, I was, again, not blowing smoke, give you both hugs right back. When I saw your show and what it was doing, I'm going, we need to do this, because I think there are other people in a boat similar to mine, or maybe even a little bit more mainstream momentum than I've had, who are getting day jobs, who are supplementing, who are stressing, who didn't have to. And I think they aren't talking about it. I think there's a little stigma. I think there's a little shame. I remember so distinctly, I earned the most money I've ever earned in 2017, 2018. And then 2019 made about half of what I made the year before. And then it kept going down, and now in 2025, I'm making about a quarter of what I made at my peak.
It's very similar map for me.
We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it, because I remember feeling, oh, you're never supposed to admit you made less this year than last year. That's like a no-no. That makes people feel uncomfortable. But I think way more of us are there than we think. And I think that, you know, wanting to have your brand be predicated on like rolling success that's never stopped, maybe, but it sounds really lonely and stressful. And for me, this process of seeing my finances dip, I can analyze why it's happened. Some of it's choices, some of it's the way the ball bounces sometimes. Some of it's also, you know, I had a TV show that was like hot and hipsters loved it. And then it dovetailed right into, I had Beautiful Anonymous hit the same year that Gethard show was on cable. And then I did an off-Broadway run of a show that turned into an HBO special and signed a book deal in 18 months. Like, that's a hot 18 months. It's okay to not have an 18. It's okay to go, things are going to cool down after that. It was crazy. try to be smart with all that money and where I put it and how I make it last as long as possible. But I think there's a lot of people who have achieved, and we need to start talking about it. Like a couple years ago, I got a job in the nonprofit space to have reliable access to health insurance outside of the arts.
Yeah.
And I sort of hate that happened. My SAG insurance is about to run out next month because I'm letting it run out. Now, I will be honest, I don't want to chase every acting job to just try to have to get insurance. The amount that I was having to fly to Vancouver when I had a young kid, that every acting job involved Vancouver, Canada. Lovely city. I live in New Jersey. I don't want to spend all my time quarantining. I once quarantined for 2 full weeks in a hotel in Canada to work for 1 day and then flew home. That's the one that kind of broke me. I didn't want to chase acting anymore. I also had a really scary 2022. I went and did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And that was when I also had to realize, oh, I am in a valley where no one thinks I'm cool anymore.
Mm.
And people used to think my shit was cool. And people just straight up don't right now. And that was hard. And those things were all around the same time. But 2023, I started working at a mental health and education nonprofit, building arts programming for them. And I love what we do. It's called Laughing Together. I'm really, truly proud of it. I get really nerdy about it. I spend time every day tinkering with it, working on it, trying to make it grow. One of the most major motivators was health insurance. I did not want my health insurance to depend, and not even mine. And honestly, not even my wife's, because she's an artist too. But my kid did not sign up for this.
Right.
So the fact that I lost him his health insurance for a while, and then I go, oh, thank God, my SAG insurance is activating again because I booked the part of Eddie the Weird Janitor on Space Force on Netflix. So thrilled to have that job. It's on a Greg Daniels show. But like, does my kid not get to go to the doctor if I can't successfully win the part of Weird Janitor? That's not okay with me. That's not okay. I'm too much of a worker, you know? I want to do the work and I want to be a good dad. And I don't want anything more than a stable life for my kid. But if that means I need to have, at this point, I actually just the other day, I have a whiteboard in my office and I wrote down all the jobs I currently have.
Mm.
And I currently have 5, what would most people qualify as full-time jobs.
Yeah.
5.
And I'm betting that doesn't count like social media manager,
No.
right? Like that
Nope.
doesn't count like HR,
Nope.
right? Like doesn't count like being your own CFO and all of that stuff that is part of being in this world right now. I just have to double down again about saying that the precarity is the point. They want us, capital, the authoritarian fascist regime wants people in the arts especially to feel precarious, to feel alone, to feel like it is our fault if we're not succeeding doing the work that we love. Because
I'm with you.
that is one of the ways we get to the fascist totalitarian regime.
And I'm totally with you. I think that that phrase is beautiful. The precarity is the point. But I also need to shout to the hilltops. The companies that benefit from our work used to have more good faith support of the work.
Yeah.
They
Well,
used
they're
to,
part
in
of
good-
capital. I mean, like when I'm talking, they're part of the capitalist system where the precarity is the point of both our government, but also capitalism in general. But those are intertwined, right?
Yeah, they're married now in a way that we're feeling the effects of all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. It used to be always, it's always been like a series of parasitic relationships, right? The big money media companies benefit from the works of writers, artists, actors, comedians, musicians. There's managers and agents along the way. There's entertainment lawyers, and all of them are on some level parasites living off of each other's work, right? But I do think that, like, for example, I won't name names because it's not my story to tell, but so I went on a tour. I co-headlined a tour with the great Eddie Pepitone, who's a comedian who...
Shout out to Eddie.
He was a guy I was watching when I started, was like, holy shit. And my friend, I mean, people can look it up. But he's a friend of mine who opened the tour. Great young comedian I met out of Jersey. Jersey City has a real hot comedy scene. He came out of there. Good dude. He's crushing it on TikTok. Makes money on TikTok. And he told me like he's paying his rent off his TikTok videos. I'm like, that is fucking rad. And like, you don't need to wait for somebody to give you a thumbs up or a development deal or get notes. You just throw your stuff up. That's awesome. We were on the road together. I'm driving. Eddie's in the passenger seat, like screaming about whatever Eddie Pepitone's screaming about. And my buddy is no joke. We're driving from one city to the other. He's in the back editing with headphones on, laptop on his knees. We get to the hotel. He's like, what time sound check? I need to finish this. Runs to the hotel room, editing up until the second we leave for sound check. And then the second the show is done, he gets off stage. He's like checking to make sure everything uploaded correctly and the sound is right. And are things wrong in the way they're supposed to? It was every day. It was every day. And not $1 of that counted towards insurance. Not $1 of that counted towards a pension. And it's awesome. It's fucking awesome. If I had a job when I was in my early 20s where I could just make shit, post it, no notes, no one else's opinions matter, pay my rent with a couple roommates, amazing, incredible. It's awesome. I'm old enough, though, to see that long term, this doesn't end well. This doesn't end well. The second the algorithm decides they don't like this kid anymore, how's he pay his rent? And what's it counted towards? It really scares me.
And depending on the content, right? Like if someone up the food chain doesn't like it for any reason, like
you're done.
You're demonetized. This is... Yeah, I feel obviously just super passionately about this because like you mentioned Substack and maybe we can cut this part because I just want to tell you, but like Substack is, as listeners will know, like one of kind of the things that I shout about because it's the illusion of freedom that if you get locked in there, like your buddy, you're working a full-time job doing your newsletter. It's great. You have a one-to-one relationship with your readers, like you're growing your brand and whatever. Substack decides they want to change the terms of service. Substack decides they want to lock up your readers. Substack gets bought by Elon Musk or Mark Andreessen. Like what do you do
done.
then?
You're cooked.
You're cooked. And
it's like so much of the social media, like people who spent years building a following on Twitter and then Elon Musk buys it. And people have to sit here and make a moral choice. I just left Twitter. I had 83,000 followers on there. I got 900 and something on Blue Sky. But I started
blow up your Blue Sky. We're gonna blow.
Yeah,
up
we're going.
I
can't believe I have more than you. I'm gonna. We're gonna help that.
But
I'm just gonna press the button.
You sit here and you go, "Ooh, all that work."
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those were bots, how many of those are dead accounts, but to go from 83,000 to 900, and my podcast that's been my job for almost 10 years is. I tweet out a phone number. Well, now I Blue Sky out a phone number and then random people call. I go, it was 83,000. It's now 900. This is a scary leap to take, but I can't be this guy who claims that he has like ethics and go, I'm just going to stay because 83,000 is a flashier number. At some point, I got to get the fuck out. This is madness. I go to check my Twitter, my notifications. It's no one replying to me. It's literally like videos of people fighting in parking lots. And then 20 minutes later, I'm watching people fighting in malls. It's like the worst empty calorie street drug dopamine kick going. I can't do this.
So obviously we could talk to you about all this forever. We got a couple things to do before we let you go though. One, did you tell the story you were intending to tell? That
the union one.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
SAG, being apparently brought up in SAG meetings about
I love that.
The tenuous nature of union membership and me being the face of it in at least one SAG meeting made me giggle and was a definite blow to the ego.
So I actually I'm doing my like semi-annual office rewatch. So I actually recently saw the one that you're in, but also saw the one where they have the mugs from Kelly's party with the like this America's Got Talent. Everybody gets a mug with their mug on it. And for some reason I thought of everyone at SAG carrying around mugs like with your face on it is like
it was can you imagine though? Someone from the union calls you up and
everyone's
it's like,
remember, do it for Chris.
We had a big breakdown of all of our members, and turns out you're the guy walking the tightrope. Like, you sort of represent the tightrope.
You are the tightrope. Yeah,
you are
You're
the tightrope.
rope. Yeah.
If they fall on one side of it, they feel pretty good, and if you fall on the other side of it, yo. It was a weird phone call.
You should be the poster child of our podcast, basically. We thought we were the poster children of our podcast, although this is low-key and also divorce podcast, in which case, like, no, you can't. You're not.
Yeah.
Not there. Not there. Not there. Yeah.
But anyway, so we got your story.
If it ever goes down, we'll do a follow-up episode.
One more important thing that we do as part of this platform, it's so important as we all try to make our way through this creative economy that we let people know how they can support us. So this is a part of the show where we ask our guests to plug what they're doing and let people know where they can find it.
The big ones for me are Beautiful Anonymous. It's a podcast I've been doing for 9 years. Time Magazine just named us one of the 100 best podcasts ever, which was really flattering. I didn't know it was coming. That's out there. If you like it, there's a, beyond paywall subscription thing you could sign up for that I would appreciate. And then, I've always got 10 things going on, but the other big one is laughingtogether.org. I'm working with this nonprofit company, and we send comedians into schools to help kids self-expression using the arts towards positivity in schools. And as far as like a later in life act 2 turn, like selling out, getting a day job, I could have done a lot worse than applying the arts through a nonprofit organization in schools. So really, really proud of what we're doing. And if you're someone who's like a philanthropic donor or works at a corporation that supports mental health endeavors or school endeavors, like we need all the help we can get.
All right. I think it's time. And I think it's time for us to plug our own things.
Yeah. Well, writing workshop is underway. I'll have another writing workshop in the winter, which people can check out, like kind of when it gets closer. Other podcast, Space the Nation, and of course, contributing editor at TNR, and the newsletter.honorarycox.com.
Awesome. Album's still out. Vinyl still on sale over at Bandcamp if you search Open Mike Eagle. But I'm also technically still on tour right now. Going to be in Detroit, Rochester, Albany, Montreal, Portland, Maine, Norwalk, Connecticut, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Huntington, New York, and Richmond, Virginia. And then I announced some headlining shows in October in Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, Yucca Valley, California, and Phoenix. All of those tickets for all those are available right now if you look on mikeeagle.net.
We're going to have to follow up this conversation because I think, we're really aligned on this. And I just really appreciate you. You got multiple hugs, like long distance hugs. During this thing. I don't know how many times we've done that. So
I appreciate it. I accept the hugs. I love what you guys are doing. I'm a listener, and Anna, so nice to connect in this way. And Mike, I think even though we don't catch up we don't cross paths much as we used to, but I think like you came into my life at a very, very special time in my life, and the amount of artists that were crossing over, coming and going, that is the golden age of my artistic life, and it gives me such warm feelings to just even be able to connect again, because
same
really
here. It was so important and helpful for me when you opened up your beautiful world and allowed me to share a little bit of it a couple of times. I did your show, and you let me interview you for my podcast when I had like no listeners, and we really got deep. So I don't know, I've always appreciated you, and
likewise.
I look forward to talking again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
And people can follow you on Blue Sky.
I'm on Blue Sky. I got 907. Let me check right now.
It's probably gone up 3 during this conversation, even though it's not
I
live.
was at over 83,000 on Twitter, and I'm currently. Oh, I just hit 1,000. I got 1,000 followers on Blue Sky.
Look who the most recent one is.
Hey, thanks, Open Mike Eagle.
There you go.
I'll follow you back.
Thanks again so much.
Past Due is hosted by Anna Marie Cox and Open Mike Eagle. It's produced by Andrew Steven. You can find more at pastduepodcast.com. Help support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/pastdue. You'll get bonus content, extended interviews, and more. As always, if you like what we're doing, another way to help is by subscribing, sharing the show, and leaving us a review. Thanks for listening.
Stop doom scrolling. Start decoding the tech, rewiring your week and your world. The Interface is the BBC's fiercely informed, fast, and funny take on how technology is changing everything.
Hosted by journalists Tom Germain, Karen Howe, and Nikki Wolf, each episode unpacks week by week the unfolding story of how technology is shaping all our futures. No guests, no jargon, just three sharp voices debating the tech news stories that matter, whether they shook a government, broke the internet, or quietly tipped the balance of power.
As TikTok shifts geopolitics, Trump drives digital shockwaves, Elon Musk expands his space internet empire, and AI reroutes the routines of everyday life. The trio asks, what world are the tech titans building for us? And do we want to live in it?
Find The Interface from the BBC wherever you get your podcasts.
Not all darkness is dangerous. Sometimes it's the doorway to becoming whole. On the brand new podcast, The Shadow Sessions, hosted by me, Hibab Al-Faqih, a psychologist and trauma expert, we shed light on the hidden corners of the human experience. Through raw, unfiltered conversations from the edge of healing, The Shadow Sessions invites you to do the deeper work that leads to real change. Follow The Shadow Sessions wherever you're listening now.